Mark, what's going on, man?
What's up, Adam?
Not too much. Audience, we got Mark Jensen from 403 Fauna. If you don't know Mark, you should check out his Instagram and YouTube channels. Actually, Mark has worked as or more diligently than I have on his brand, media, all that kind of stuff. And Mark and I have been buddies for, 3 years now. And that we do these episodes together, but Joe is off, somewhere in Western Europe, which is nice. And I'm jealous of him. But the show goes on, and Mark in San Diego decided that a local time 4:30 a.m. episode made sense for a schedule. I cannot believe you're here. Thank you so much, Mark.
Yeah, you know what? Anytime you give me this opportunity, Adam, I'm going to jump at it.
Well, thank you, man. I have my own belief in, unless it just doesn't make sense to do, it'll be hurtful. Like if it's a brand building opportunity, I'm not going to turn it down. So I'm with you. I get it. Sometimes I have to remind myself that of these 6:30 shows, much less 4:30. So anyway, props to you, man. Thank you. How have you been, man? It's been, 4-6 months since we've hung out, maybe. I don't know. I lose track of time. I'm not sure, but everything going okay?
Yeah, it's this school year I took 6 periods, so it's been really busy. And of course, with all the snakes we're taking care of, it's been crazy, but summer vacation's a week away and I'm looking forward to it.
There you go. Do you still do like the 3 weeks on, 2 weeks off schedule, or 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off? What's the school schedule that you have? Is it year-round school, or you have a traditional summer break now?
It's called a modified year round, where we go 9 weeks and then 2 weeks break, and summer isn't as long. It's 6 weeks, but I'll
okay.
6 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you find, I was just talking to my son about this last night, but do you find that the kids stay in rhythm, or is it, I know the idea is to lessen the wild ups and downs, but do you find that there's maybe less wild, but more of them, or how do the ups and downs of staying, focused? It's, I don't know how many kids focus on anything, but how do you find that affects them?
I've had this schedule since I've been teaching, and I've been teaching for 24 years. So I don't really have anything to compare it with.
Right.
But seemingly after vacation, we're all just trying to get back to the schedule, because by the time 2 weeks comes around, your sleep schedule's off and the kids got to take a few days to get back into it. So maybe there's a little bit of productivity time lost at the beginning, but it's good. I like it.
Gotcha. Yeah, like you say, if it's all you know, it's all you know. And you teach high school, any particular grade or a few, or what students you got?
I teach biology, which is freshmen, 9th graders, and also chemistry, which is 10th graders. But I do have a mix of students because some students fail and have to take it over. So, but mainly 9th and 10th graders.
Nice. And how many? I know you keep your students interacting with your animals pretty well. Do you keep any in the class permanently? Do you rotate them in and out? You bring them, take them home? What's the setup there?
I do have 3 turtles in the classroom. Of course,
3.
The big pig nose is in the classroom. And every Thursday, which is today, I do have a snake Thursday, and I bring a snake in, and kids look forward to it. I have kids from not even my students come in the class and know that on Thursdays that I'm going to bring a snake in. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, Jen notices that you're up early. And for the record, Mark is not already on summer vacation. Like, Mark has to go to work later today. Like I say, I'm pumped that you're here. I appreciate it, Mark. So we do this segment. You got to try and fill in for Joe. We got to try and keep this theme of the show going. So we do this theme of the one thing you got to know each week. What's the one thing from this past week that I got to know, man?
Well, any day now, I'm going to get my first clutch of the season, and I just looked in on her, and I'm really excited for that to get started. But it seems like within the past week, I've just had crazy amount of ovulations. I think I've had 6 ovulations in the past week, and I'm not going to have many clutches this year. I think I'm going to have 10, but to have them all go in that amount of time, it's a fun game.
We were talking a little bit in the green room before we kicked off. Yeah, this is the type of time of year where I'm like starting to feel like, well, things are behind schedule, they're late, and then yeah, they just go. I've got, like you, I've got one clutch due like any moment. Matter of fact, I just checked her this morning, expecting to see her. But I have 3 total that'll be here in the next 1 to 7 days. I would be surprised if they're not all here by then. So, what's your first clutch? What was the pairing on it?
Its male was banana, VPI xanthic genetic stripe, and the female was just a red stripe. So double hets. I know banana and red stripes are pretty cool, so I thought that would make a good pairing.
Yeah. Sorry, did you say banana? They're the G-stripe axanthic. Those are hets or visual?
Visual. It's a visual.
Wow, banana axanthic G-stripe visual.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. Nice. Okay. That is cool. I've got banana axanthics and I've got G-stripe axanthics. No, excuse me, banana G-stripes, but I don't have any. I wasn't aware of any banana axanthic G-stripes. Is it VPI?
It's VPI. Yeah.
Huh. All right. Well, maybe we'll be in touch.
If you want to take a look at him. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. We'll take a look, man.
Let's see. It's really unique combination in that I was surprised at how the colors came out on it. I don't know if this is going to show, but that's him right there. I think he's pastel also. I'm having trouble noticing pastel and banana, but he's ornery because of the breeding season. But that's him right there. You can kind of see the G-stripe there.
Yep, I do see it. He might be ornery because it's 4:30 in the morning. He's like, I'm still nocturnal, man. This is still overnight, man. Yeah, I have trouble. I have a little trouble identifying pastel and banana, but particularly in the banana axanthic clutch that I have, there potentially is pastel in the mix, and odds-wise, it should be in half of them. I can't tell it anywhere. I actually delivered one yesterday, and I just had to give him the disclaimer. I was like, there could be pastel here. I don't know that for sure. So, my one thing. It's actually 2 things or a sub thing, but we'll get to the important part in a second. The interesting part is I went to this barber in town, and I kind of enjoy the process of it. I didn't enjoy the shave. I got a shave like a month ago, and I don't know, those straight razors on your face and neck, like that's a vulnerable moment, man. I was like, I'm good on I'll stick to my own shaving system. That's fine. But I like to go down there, and it gets me out of the house. I find that I'm less and less involved with people, and I'm getting more insane every day. So I try and actually interact with people now. And so the barbershop allows me to do that. And I get to know the barber, and he goes, oh, another barber that I rent a chair to, he's got snakes. He's a snake guy. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. And that was the first time I went there. Well, I went back what's today? Today's Thursday. I had a show on Sunday. So last Saturday I went, and he goes, hey, that's the snake guy. And this older gentleman, retired vet, he cuts hair to, same kind of thing, get out of the house, stay sane, interact with his community. And he comes over, he starts talking to me. And he goes, well, how do I see your snakes? He'd never heard of Morph Market in his life. And I showed him the Morph Market store. Immediately, he's like, that one? I've never seen a snake like that. It's $175. I was like, yeah, this is a nice snake. It's a good looking animal for a pet and that stuff. And he's like, how do I see it? And it's such a small town. I was like, well, I'll go get it. I'll just bring it here if we have the permission of the barber. And anyway, so he ends up putting a down payment on the snake. He says, let me just get a setup going, but I want to own him. And so sold a snake at the barbershop. Fun story, but that's not the one thing. I'm in the barber chair, and clearly, I don't have much hair left. And if I were to spin around, you'd see that I have even less hair up top here. So the barber's barbering, and he goes, do you want me to do your eyebrows? I said, excuse me? He goes, I think it's time to trim up the eyebrows. I said, I don't think I'm ready for that in my life yet. So, Mark, I think you and I are about the same age. You ever You ever trim up your eyebrows, man? Have you had that talk given to you that it's that time to consider?
You know what? I naturally have a unibrow, so I've learned long ago that I got to keep that area trimmed. So it's a regular thing.
Wow. Now we're getting down to some good, honest, vulnerable content. So do you wax? What do you do there? Since you brought it up, I'm just following the path here.
I just take some tweezers and pluck. And
yeah, that's gotta hurt like a son of a gun, man.
The first time I did it or had it done to me, I was like, I was tearing up and everything. And
yeah,
but now it's nothing. It's fun.
That's like how actors cry on cue. Like they take a moment and they either like pull an eyebrow or they pull a nose hair to make them tear up, All right. Yeah. Apparently we are all of that generation. I have attracted the people my age. Bash Coder says, which by the way, man, great content that you put out, Bash Coder. I really enjoy it. Jen, believe it or not. So anybody that's met me in person knows that I could grow some body hair. The ear hair, I've actually, since we're all talking about this now, I've actually been shaving my ears for a year or two now. That's sort of a weekly thing. I had accepted that. Yeah. Well, I don't know. So what I'm afraid of is like, what if he screws up? I'm going to have no eyebrow, and I know it'll grow back, but that's a problem. Then the other thing is I always go back to the Seinfeld episode where like Jerry starts shaving his chest and then it comes in thicker and thicker. Like, is this going to be an unending race that I can never win against my eyebrows?
It's funny. Your barber story brought up something that I remembered here in San Diego about at one of our barbershops here. Some guy was getting a shave and somehow got into an argument with the barber, and the barber ended up cutting his throat.
Oh, yeah. That's what oh my gosh.
I hate to put that thought into your head, but that did happen here.
Well, when so the guy goes, and he's a great barber. This is not me knocking him. I'm sure this is far more about me than him. I was like, yeah, let's try this thing. I was here, you should go enjoy a shave. It's a nice, relaxing thing. I'd had a stressful day, and I was like, you know what? I got a show coming up. This was a month or so back, and that razor just didn't feel sharp, man. And I was like, this doesn't feel well. And then, on the neck, there's one point where the hair starts growing sort of different ways. So like when you're shaving at home, if you got to go up or down and where to switch it. And, we're in our 40s. We know what we're doing here. We've done this for 30 plus years, figured it out. Wasn't for me, but yeah, there was definitely a moment. And like, he keeps his dog in the shop. So his dog is flipping out if another dog walks by, and he's got a razor on my neck. I'm like, I'm out. I don't want any part of this, man. So I did finish the shave, and then I've swore it off. I'm good. I've checked it off my list. I've experienced it. No more for me. No, thank you.
Good for you.
Could you imagine, like, how bad would the argument have? Like, why would you even pick an argument with a dude with a razor in his hand? Like, at that point, you just agree with things, right?
Yeah, I don't know what went on, but that was in the news a couple of years ago.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So my fears were well founded. Then I've made a smart decision. I'm done. I'm done with the razors. We haven't chatted in a while. What's the fundraiser on the back, or the funds tracking on the back? What are you working on these days for your thermostat or your thermometer there?
That's actually really old. I decided to do a Freedom Breeder fundraiser, and I would use all my snake sales to put it towards a Freedom Breeder. And I was keeping track of it the first time I did that, but anytime I sell a snake, I end up buying a new one. So it didn't end up in that Freedom Breeder fund. So I just need to
the temperatures have leveled out. You're very consistent with your temperature. It doesn't change. That's exactly the same thing that it's been. That's been a little while. You've been working on that, Mark.
Yeah, I haven't changed it, I think, in a year. So
On I noticed a Vision rack or a Vision style rack behind you. What method do you use to heat that? Do you use heat rope on that? Do you use back heat? What do you heat? What do you use on that?
The Vision one is heat rope.
Yeah, it's the rope. Yeah.
I find it's not as good heating. It does during the winter time. It does get a little bit cold for them, but it's worked out for the past few years. I've bred snakes in there, no problem. There's actually some snakes locked up right now. So
Yeah.
but the other one does have regular heat tape.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have 2 old Vision racks. I bought them used, and I bet they're 20 years old. But those of y'all watching don't know, Vision doesn't have the recess space for the heat tape, and I literally have nightmares of heat tape getting rubbed through or cooking through and a fire starting. And my snake facility is under the house, and everything of any importance in my life, including my family, is above me. So I truly have nightmares about fires. And so I had equipped mine with back heat, and then I insulated it. And that was great for the hatchlings. But what I like, if you look at Mark's rack back there, if you imagine turning that 90 degrees, you can have really, really deep tubs that would pull out from the side. So I did that for my breeder males are in a Vision rack now, and all my females, I moved them all to the ARSs. And I went ahead and I equipped it with heat rope. And I was curious because taping a thermostat to the heat rope I didn't like it. So I was messing with like a smart plug, turning a timer on, 10 minutes on, 4 minutes off. And those smart plugs aren't made to go in a constant loop. They're meant to have like, here's a timer 2-3 times a day, but not 72 times a day or 144 times a day. So I ended up going back with the heat rope. So do you just tape the probe right to the rope on yours, or how do you set your thermostat?
Yeah, I just taped it directly onto a piece of the rope, made sure it's super secure. I do have to set the thermostat higher than what I would with a heat tape.
Right.
Because the heat rope doesn't heat as efficiently as the heat tape. But once you get it dialed in, well, it works out pretty good.
Yeah. And I do think it's like like you say, some things you have to calibrate higher. I actually have my 5540, I actually have to calibrate down because the tubs actually sit right on the heat panel. So yeah, you always have to calibrate it. I think mine is set to like 99, 98, somewhere in there to get it to the 89 inside. So anyhow, I'm trying it. The day that I moved them in was feeding day, and they all fed that night. They seem very happy in there. And it's kind of neat on the Vision tubs. The footprint is actually really quite big, especially even compared to a 5040 or a 5540. So it's shallower, but the footprint is almost like a 30-gallon or a 40-gallon breeder size. So I think it's going to be a good home for my males. And I also like it because it's 15 high. And the reality is 15 breeder males. If I have more than that, I'm probably not staying focused. So I'm trying to use it as like a focal point of keeping myself on track, which
good idea.
It's not going to happen. But, I tell myself it's a good idea. So we'll see.
What do you keep your ambient at in that room?
78 all year round, just 78. It fights harder in the wintertime, especially in the harsh Minnesota winter. But I do run some supplemental heat. If it gets down to 15 degrees or colder, I run supplemental heat in here. So 78 is the target. And I have the fans turned off when I'm doing the show, but I have 2 floor fans that point straight up. And so that way is a dish pit. And the dish pit actually stays 2 to 3 degrees cooler, and you could see right above my head, right above the UF flag. That's the mini split, but all of the racks sort of form a a half circle, half moon around the mini split. So it stays like about 2 degrees warmer over here, but that's right on 78. And then I calibrate the tubs to the, 89 kind of temperature inside.
Nice.
Do you do your room a separate temperature than the rest of the house, or is it room temp year round in that room?
It's just room temp here, and I keep my house temperature at 65 during the winter, so the temperature does drop a little bit here. Although I close the door here and it stays relatively warm, I think it gets down to the low 70s here during the winter.
Sure. Yeah. So yours probably get more of a seasonal swing than mine do, actually.
Yeah. I personally think that, and this is something I've been working on the past few years, I think that actually helps in producing more females. The past 2 years, I've produced a significantly amount of more females than males. So I'm curious to see this year whether that continues, and that might be a factor in doing that.
Yeah, from a science background on your end, and somebody who teaches science and has studied science and has far more credentials in it than I do, I noticed last year when you were saying that, yeah, your math on the females was incredible last year. I also wonder if that is more of a natural seasonal swing, and I wonder if that's what's concentrating. You talked about at the beginning of the show that you're seeing all these ovulations in one shot right now. I wonder if that is giving them a better seasonal marker, because mine will go, I'll have eggs this year. I'll have eggs as early as April that have already hatched all the way, March that have already hatched all the way to, I have one girl that lays in December. So, which I appreciate. It's nice to spread it. If I'm going to have 30 clutches and I never have more than, 5 or 6 at a time, that helps my workload. It helps my logistics. It helps everything for me. But clearly it's unnatural for it always to be 78 and the lights always click on at 6:45 in the morning and always click off at 6:40, exactly 12 hours of daylight and that stuff. So yeah, I wonder if that actually helps with their sort of natural cycle.
Honestly, I've never thought of that, but now that you brought it up, it really makes sense, because within a week I have all those ovulations, and there's probably something to that.
Yeah. The other thing in this room is I have no natural light. There's no, what do you call it? Diurnal cycle or certainly no diurnal temperature swings, whatever that cycle is there with the light, which, by the way, Minnesota doesn't screw around, man. I get up at 5:30 this morning. It is blaring light. Like if you had just blindfolded me and been like, hey, you're on a plane, what time of day is it? I would have been like, it's 9 a.m. I saw how short the days were in the wintertime, and it didn't click with me in the summer. Like, I'm trying to get these blackout curtains, but then the dogs are up because they see the light, and it's like, man, I can't be a 5:30 a.m. kind of guy every day, man.
Yeah, I've noticed that it's getting sunlight here earlier. I mean, we do have seasons here in San Diego, but definitely I love the spring and summer, and breeding ball pythons, that's the big time for us.
Right. So how many, you said that you weren't going to do too many clutches this year. How many do you think that you'll have when it's all said and done?
I think I'll have 10 for sure. I'm shooting maybe for 12 total. And
Cool.
after last year, honestly, 12 is probably my limit with teaching and everything. My goal eventually is to get at least 25 to 30. But I think right now where I'm at, a dozen clutches is perfect for me.
Yeah. Those of y'all that haven't bred before, I remember with 2 clutches and having 14 hatchlings going, holy cow, this workload is way different. And like you say, when you have a job, a career, and I know we all take it very seriously as a hobby or as a business or as a hobby business, But if it's not paying the bills and it's getting in the way of the things that do pay the bills, or you can't take care of the animals, you can really drive yourself nuts. But I found it was a really good idea to sort of step up. I think I did like 2 and then 7 and then 15 or 18. And then I think this year I paired 30. I think I'll land at 22, 23. A lot of them were first time breeders, didn't go kind of thing. So I think I'll be at 22 or 23 this year, which is going to be moving when I get going on it. I bought that. Oh, I'm moving my desk, but not the camera. That hatchling rack right there, specifically for that, and specifically so that I could work quickly and handle all those babies. So yeah, I'm with you when you say, you work up to what you can handle for sure.
Yeah, that was definitely an eye opener last year. Just 11 clutches and all you got to do, feeding all those babies. And it opened my eyes as far as, I probably can't do the 25 to 30 at this time in my life, but definitely in the future.
Well, and the babies poo more. You're trying to feed them every, ideally maybe a little sooner than certainly your adult males and maybe even adult females. They're just a lot of work, and it's another tub you got to clean. It's more if you're using cocoa, you got to make the cocoa. You're switching the cocoa, water checks, all that. Have they shed? And then God forbid they don't eat. You're assist feeding them, trying to keep track of all those records. So yeah, it is a lot, man. It's a fun time of year because it's exciting, but yeah, the work to it is quite hectic. So, well, before we jump into collaboration, what's your clutch that you're most excited for? That you're like this is the one. Like, what have you been like waiting for, cooking up? I see a smile. You got something in mind. What's on your mind on that?
Well, I think this is the year I hit the VPI Xanthic puzzle, so I'm looking forward. And okay. I just got results back from RGI. Or was it?
That was a heck of a post, man. I'm not going to steal your thunder here. You tell it, but that was a crazy post, man.
Yeah. One of my males that I hatched out last year, he was a Firefly VPI Xanthic and 50% possible het puzzle. I got him tested and he proved to be het puzzle. And I was doing the double het to double het pairing, which I did last year. And it was really successful, but I did not hit that VPI Xanthic puzzle. I think I hit everything except that. It was a really
of course, right.
And so as soon as I found out, I took that male in, put it in with her. He locked up immediately. She's I don't have an ultrasound, but I think she's on the down cycle as far as breeding. So I'm hoping that last lock gets it in there and just increases my odds for that VPI Xanthic puzzle.
What else? But what came in the post? Didn't you have some crazy surprises that you didn't even know about?
Yeah, that was so. The first, I have a female pastel double het VPI Xanthic puzzle, and the first year that I bred her, my leopard double het, he didn't go, so I put a fire VPI Xanthic to her, and that gave me that clutch of. Oh wait up, I'm sorry, that's the wrong clutch. I was, yeah, my first year breeding it in 2000. No, this was early 2022, my bad. But that same male I put in with vanilla cream het hypo. So I have this leopard double het VPI Xanthic with vanilla cream het hypo. And so I have this shot at triple hets, but it's a very low chance. So that clutch went through. I saved 3 females from that clutch, and I had all 3 females tested with RGI, which is having a great deal right now on the 2 for 4 testing. Take advantage of that. There's only, I think, a day left on that, but I got those results back, and one of the females ended up being triple het. One of the females ended up being double het hypo puzzle, and they have to rerun the puzzle test on the 3rd female, but she didn't prove het for VPI or het hypo. But man, I've been sitting on these girls. I've been like slow growing them because it's just a low chance that they're triple het. But now that I found out, I'm going to start counting them with rats.
You're like, yeah, pedal down. It's time to go, man. So, okay, so you did know it was possible. It wasn't like you have to go back various generations now and figure out where the het came from or anything. Like, you knew it was in the mix. It was a possibility. Yeah. So that's still a great outcome though, man. That's a nice email to open up, huh?
Yeah. And actually I bred her with an ivory at first. So there was this thought that, did he get the clutch, and are these yellow belly? They didn't look like yellow belly, but you know, yellow bellies are kind of sometimes can be hard to tell. So that with the 2 for 4, I actually had yellow belly tested as well, and none of them came out yellow belly. So the leopard double het definitely got that clutch, and it's just a matter of me finding the right male for that female.
Yeah, I need ideally a visual puzzle, but I have 2 females. One's a hypo het puzzle, one's a double het hypo puzzle. I don't think they're going to be ready this fall, but they might be. I was actually surprised when I opened the tub the other day. I was like, oh wow, I got 6 months to go till like I really focus on pairing. I was like, they might actually make it. I don't think that they will, but they might. But anyway, I've got to start. I thought in my mind I had another year before I needed the male. I might only have, 4 or 5 months before I need the male. So I've got to see. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hypo puzzle stuff myself as well on that. What's go ahead.
I'm super fortunate to live really close to Randy from Dark Cloud Reptiles, who is the puzzle king here.
Yeah.
And he actually messaged me and said, hey, I got a male for that girl. So it's really cool to have that support down here in San Diego.
That is cool. And actually that's a good point and a good segue too. With media, Instagram, social media, you never know who's watching. So is this the story? You posted that, somebody saw that and was like, whether we think it's sales or help or both, hey, here's the ideal mate for that. Is that how that one went?
Yeah, I posted on a puzzle chat on Instagram, and I've done business with Randy, so he saw that post on there and just messaged me, and I might have a male for that girl very soon in the future.
Yeah, those situations are cool. I told a story one time with Jeremy Warfel. From a sales standpoint and knowing your customers and building relationships, like targeted sales are fantastic. And Jeremy called me out of the blue. He goes, hey, I got a female gravel clown. I think she's up your alley. I'm like, hell yes, she's up my alley. I'll buy every female gravel clown that I can at the right price, And I said, what are you looking for on it? And he gave me a price. I said, yeah, sold. And I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't intending to spend that money. I may or may not have even should have spent that money. Oh yeah. Okay. Case in point. Yeah. Here's Steven cooking up. Hey, here's something you need, Adam. I'm going to lose track of my own thought if I start reading that. So put your stuff out there, people, is what I'm saying. Like, you never know what's going to work. And it could be a straight out sale. It could be a collaboration, which honestly, collaborations bring me a little bit of stress, but with the right person, they're really, really good opportunities. They can be amazing. Mark, talk to me about, I've just discovered this whole, so there's Instagram, and then there's like the sub level of like ball python Instagram that most of us, I think, here are all very familiar with. There's another level of like group chats on specific genes. How do people find these? How do you get into these? I've just discovered these. I just joined was it you that added me to it? Matter of fact,
yeah.
Oh, that's convenient. That worked out well for our show today. That literally just clicked in my mind. The Zebra McKenzie chat, and like, these are no joke. Like, I feel like what's in the chat should stay in the chat, so I don't want to out anything. But like, if we listed our top 3 breeders in the world, I bet 2 of them are in that chat. And I bet 2 of everybody's top 3 are in that chat. So like, there's some serious knowledge and experience flying around. How do you find these? How do you get like how do you find these different chat groups, man?
Well, shout out to Keys Constrictors. They were the one that added me to the puzzle chat. I think he was the one that created it, but he saw that I was.
Oh, really? I didn't know even Keys was in there. Huh. Okay.
He saw that I posted for my puzzle clutch from last year. I hatched a couple of puzzles, and he said, "Hey, Mark, you want me to add you to this puzzle group?" And, heck yeah! And you do see the biggest names in the industry in that chat. And shout out to the
I'm
kids.
sorry. That was the puzzle chat, not the Mackenzie Zebra chat. Excuse me. Go ahead. The puzzle chat key started. Okay. Shout out to who?
Shout out to the kids Sculpted Exotics and Ideal Pythons. They're the ones who started the Zebra and Mackenzie chat. And since I had them on my show, and they saw that I had a Mackenzie and added me to that group. So shout out to them too.
Very nice. I didn't know that you had a Mackenzie. So what does your gut say? Are you like, if you had $5 to wager, and not that I do, but if you had $5 to wager, Zebra and Mackenzie, same thing? Is Mackenzie het Zebra and Zebra is super Mackenzie, or totally different? What do we think?
I think, it's tough. I've thought of this. It could be a cinnamon black pastel type thing where they're very similar but different, or they could be the exact same thing. But that's the wonderful thing about genetic testing, is that we'll know exactly if they're the same or not. So I'm just going to sit back and wait for that result, which I believe they are working on.
Yeah. So you think that, so you're calling at least allelic and related then?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I like those odds then, particularly in that you can pick up Mackenzie's for pennies on the dollar. I mean, we're talking Merlot and Cabernet here, man. You could get really cheap Merlot that's great compared dollar for dollar, because it still goes back to that crazy movie Sideways. Like, that tanked the Merlot market. 30 years later, it's still tanked. But so yeah, what's your Mackenzie animal that you have, or project that you're working on?
I have a GHI Mojave Super Mackenzie, and just like you mentioned, the price on those things, I think it's a little bit harder to find Mackenzies now after this revelation has occurred, but
it's catching on. Yeah.
I got it before that big explosion about it. And if someone
first rule of Mackenzie is never to talk about Mackenzie.
Yeah, I was looking up Mackenzies, and I saw the breeder had put it on sale. I was like, you know what, I got to jump on that. And with the super, you just breed it to anything and produce Mackenzies. So, and it being a male, I'm probably going to run it through some things next year.
I have to see, only because I'm selfish. Maybe I can pop up the picture of it. I had never heard of Mackenzie. If you had said, what is Mackenzie being considered to be the same as, I would have said, I have no earthly idea. How am I supposed to keep up with all of these genes? And I saw this animal in Denver, and I pride myself on being pretty diligent in what I buy and planning and all that. And I immediately stopped, and I immediately said, market sold. I'm taking it. And the guy was like, all right, cool, I'll pack it up for you. I was like, I actually don't have a way to get it home. And he breeds on the same, all right, he breeds, he does breed, but he vends on the same circuit that I do. And I was like, I'll pick it up from you at the next show that we vend together, which is going to be in about 2 weeks. And it turns out that animal was a Mackenzie Highway. I'd sworn off having any yellow belly in the mix of my super gravel projects. And that animal, I threw that rule out the window. I said, I don't know what Mackenzie is, but give me that thing. I did clarify. I said, is that recessive or dominant? And he goes, well, that's the heterozygous form. And he goes, whether you want to call it dominant or recessive, that's the het form. I was like, wow. All right, give me that thing. Let me see if I can show it here. Like I say, I'm a little bit selfish, but this is, I'm pumped about this thing. Did you see it, Mark, when I posted it the first time?
Yeah, I did.
That's probably why you added me to the group. There it is.
Yeah.
That thing, and like up close, it's got these blue outlines around the yellow. So that is a pastel Mackenzie yellow belly gravel, the highway. So, and it's the other thing is it's a male, and I was like, I could run that through some of my super gravel females, and then I can also run it to a few like single gene, just base recessives, you know, so just a clown girl or something like that to start working on super gravel recessives in the future. So I'm pumped to have that animal. I'm in on Mackenzie, whether it's zebra or not. At the end of the day, I want to make cool looking, eye catching animals. And I literally haven't seen an animal like that before in my life. And I was like, give me that now. I'll take it. So that's the Mackenzie thing. But yeah, there's these layers of group chats, man. And like business gets done in them. Knowledge, of course, gets exchanged. And it's really cool to see. I read a book. There's an author called Austin Kleon, and he wrote a book called Steal Like an Artist, and he wrote another book called Share Your Work. And they're both like, they're almost picture books for adults. Like you can just flip through it kind of thing. But in one of them, in Steal Like an Artist, the basic premise of the book is to think like a artist collective. And he uses a term in there called scenius. And he says, you might not be a genius alone, but if you can join a scene of like-minded individuals, you can collaborate much like an artist collective would, and you can produce genius results from the scene. So I call the top tier of my Patreon group Scenius. But that's exactly what's going on in these group chats, man. It is people super dialed in on these little areas, and that is collaboration. That is building your brand. I think Steven would have an opinion on being known for a certain gene, and that's a good way to differentiate ourselves or to specifically get known for a gene is to be active in these group chats. The question is, how do you get these are like speakeasies. These are like the Instagram version of speakeasies. How do you get the codes, man?
Yeah, it's just a matter of putting yourself out there, and someone's going to reach out to you if you catch their eye and add you to these secretive groups. So it might take a year or two for you to get recognized, but it's just a matter of being consistent with things, and you'll get there.
Yeah. Thanks. Appreciate it. I'm on my way.
The audience, right?
No, but it to Mark's point and sort of the theme today, showing up, putting yourself out there, talking about what you got going on. So from you posting that surprise results you got from RGI, you get either somebody got a sale or you got a great animal potential this morning. And Steven, I'm not ignoring you, man. You have my attention on that mail. I'm not sure how we would make it work, but let's figure out something. I'm definitely down for discussing that for sure. And then you know, as soon as I posted that animal and started asking questions about Mackenzie, you didn't even mention it to me. It just popped up. Boom. I've been added to the group. I was like, oh, I'm in. I didn't even know this existed, but here I am inside of it, you know? So it was, that was cool. I appreciate that. We have, and I don't want to forget. So actually I want to talk to you about your collaboration on your podcast, some other ways that you've collaborated, what you've had going on your brand. You're the guest here, so I want to show you off a little bit. Let's take just a second. Guys, if you're not using Cold Blooded Cafe, you should. I think it's still going. It might not be, but I think that they've extended their Memorial Day weekend sale. On the sales, you can use the promo code proper11 and get 11% on top of the sale price. And I'm still quite sure if you get to $250 in your cart, you can then put in a second code called FS250, which gets you free shipping also. Sale plus 11% plus free shipping. If you haven't ordered from Cold Blooded Cafe, now's I actually literally can't think of a better time to do so. So give them a shot. Yes, we have a business deal and I advertise for them, but I also use their product, and I used their product before I was ever in business with them. So I actually personally recommend it. I am a user believer, all that stuff. Speaking of that, also Kreative Genetics, that's Keith out in Fresno. That's the state. That's the city in California. He is in Fresno, and Keith is working Dark Gene Stranger combos. He's working them into things like Axanthic and Clown and Pied in single, double, and triple het combos. So if you're looking for any Stranger het combos, get in touch with Keith out at Creative Genetics. And I have his Clown Axanthic boy that has been doing great work this season. So Keith and I will have, I don't know, maybe as many as 9 clutches. It's unbelievable the work that his boy's been doing. But we will have some cool stuff available. Everything will be double het, Clown VPI, and lots of visuals. And we have one shot at double visuals. And she just started rebuilding. I thought she was done. I crashed the whole thing, thinking that she had reabsorbed. And last ultrasound day, there they are again. So we're gonna take a late season shot on this female, see if we can get some double visuals out of her. So check those out. Those sponsors keep the show going. Thank you very much for that, everybody. Mark, tell us about your show, your podcast. What are you working on with collaborations these days?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for the inspiration for that. I saw this actual show inspired me to create my podcast with Jason.
Oh, thank you, man. Why? What was different from? Obviously, I've been doing Proper Royals Live for much longer than this show. What was the differentiating factor for you that you found inspiration with?
I personally thought that having a partner would help me a lot better because I'm not a good talker. I'm not a good speaker, and fortunately, Jason totally is. And
Jason could go, yeah, exactly.
So I just organized the subjects and let Jason run with it, and I think it works out really well. So yeah, I'm
very
excited.
Cool. You're excited for what now?
For doing this podcast. Throughout the few years that I've started this, I've kind of wanted to build in layers, and this was the year that it was, hey, I'll start a podcast. I mean, there's so many podcasts out there, and I wanted to be a little bit different. And by having a partnership like you do, I know Proper Cup of Joe isn't really snake centric sometimes, but I wanted it to have that similar feel, but totally being focused on the reptiles and ball pythons. So like that.
Well, very cool. I enjoy it. And yeah, to Jen's point, she says she loves how organized you are with your PowerPoints. Yeah, your show prep is, so mine is like, I have these tons of paper that I just write random notes on. My wife is like, how do you get through life like that? I'm like, I got to have the tangible thing. Like, I can't just like have a little screen of bullet points for myself. But you actually put a lot of work into presentation stuff. I very rarely have the slides. Mine is usually a whole lot more just banter and chatter. But I do enjoy that. Are there any specific benefits or outcomes, whether it be new relationships, sales, opportunities that have come from the podcast for you?
Getting to know a lot of people, and I've started this segment on the podcast where I do a question of the week, and the winner gets brought on the next week just to introduce themselves. We don't create a whole show around that person, but just
smart, yeah,
put their face out for a little bit, for 10 minutes or so, and most of the time the new breeders are people that you don't really recognize in the scene. So I think that's cool, and I'm not sure about sponsors yet, but maybe that's something I'll look into down the road. I'm a little bit hesitant about things. Like, I know you're just a go-getter and, hey, you want to sponsor my show, but I would prefer if someone reached out to me. But
okay.
It's,
well, hint, guys. Hint. There you go.
It's growing.
Yeah. My take on sponsors has changed a little bit. I'm hugely grateful for them, but when and maybe that's what I'll talk about on my Patreon content today. When I started out, it was almost like this like trinket or something I wanted to acquire, or felt like it was this like level I could achieve. And what I found was legitimacy and specificity really, really matters in sponsors, because otherwise it just says BS. People don't believe it. And if you're just, if I'm just taking a paycheck as a marketing company, that's a little bit different than sort of a personal endorsement. And I realized that my sweet spot was a personal endorsement. So having some relationship, having some experience, having there was somebody very recently, and I still think there's probably a likelihood that it'll work out, but they approached me about advertising, and I said, I got to be honest with you, I've never used this product. I don't know anything about it, and the last thing I'm going to go do is tell the audience to go do it. I guess there's a price. Don't get me wrong. Like, we get a high enough price, I'll run your commercials for you. Don't worry. But the reality is, the philosophical part is, this isn't life-changing money. It's helpful money, or trades or goods or whatever arrangements people might make. But I actually just said, you know what, let's pump the brakes for a moment. And it actually it would go right where it's a special guest, Mark at 403 Fauna would be. So anyway, I've changed my opinion on it a little bit. It felt so good at first, and then I was like, I don't know. I gotta make sure my heart's in the right place on these things, because I'm gonna lose credibility, you know. So anyhow, that's my thought on it. So I would say, you know, take your time on it. When it's the right fit, make it the right fit. If you can boost up your thermometer a little bit in the background there, sure, that's great. But you know, I think authenticity is what sells, and I mean that as far as your own brand, not whatever brand you might be advertising for. Hey, Leviathan Snakes already. He's Steven's like the industry producer. He's like, I got a plan for you. We're gonna figure this out.
You know, before we move on, I just want to say that I find myself as part of that COVID breeder class, and I think you started around that time.
Yep,
and
I did
around that time, and it's just amazing to see those that started at the time and the levels that we're at. And you're way up there, Leviathan's way up there, and I'm down here. But
no,
we're all going at our own pace, and just what Steven does and what you do as well is amazing. From what your inspirations to me to continue.
Thank you very much. And what people probably don't know, and I don't think I brought it up today, history gets a little bit fuzzy sometimes, and sometimes history can just be a convenient factor. So I don't know if you were literally the first person to buy a snake from me, but you were very early on first person to buy a snake, and maybe the first one I'd shipped like across country. Or anyhow, I remember being like so excited that you were going to buy this snake. I think I just was like, I think I threw in another snake and lowered the price. And I think you were like, well, sure. Yeah. If you're just going to keep doing this, sure, I'll take it. And I was like, yes, I sold 2 snakes. And I was like, wait, did I give one away at a lower? Is that actually what happened? Did I sell it, or what happened here? And, but I remember I was so enthusiastic, so thankful. And that snake ended up being a cool story. I've still got the mom, and I've got some siblings from that clutch as well. So I'm excited to see where that process goes. But you've been greatly helpful to me, and supportive and encouraging. And you're one of the very early people on the show as well. So it goes both ways, man. And like, that's something that I think is important for people to remember too. If you're not, you said you don't feel like you're as good of a talker and that stuff on camera, which we might disagree with, but there's still ways to collaborate. There's still ways to work with people. There's still ways to have your name and your brand out there. And you've done a lot of that really, really well. Plus you have your own style. Like, you don't have to be other people. You don't have to be the loud, boisterous guy on a microphone. You can be you. And Phil says, very simply and directly somewhere. Yeah. Mark. Oh yeah. It's already up there. Mark has authenticity. That is the highest praise of credibility, I think, in my mind, when it comes to this world. Cause there's so many people that aren't. We can all think of like just posts that we see are total nonsense. They're total unbelievable, not unbelievable in a cool way, like unbelievable. Like, this is a lie. So I think authenticity goes, much, much farther. So that's my thought. If you want to put your Joe hat on, what's the one question that Joe needs to know the answer to this week?
Now I know there's a lot of positivity in the community.
Sure.
And going back to my respect for you and Leviathan, I also see things as a competition. You know, I want to produce snakes that are better than this person, that person. Does it all have to be rainbows and unicorns, or could there be like rivalries going on in the industry? I know it's different now than it was before, but I kind of want to be better than other people.
Nice. Very good. I like it, man. I like this question. This is interesting. So, yeah, I have a competitive fire. I absolutely do. But to me, that success or failure definition to me is staying in business and keeping this thing going. Yes, unique, differentiated. I was just having this thought to myself last night. Unique, differentiated snakes are the goal. I mean, that ultimately is how we're going to differentiate ourselves and stand out. On the other hand, and this could be a whole show topic. And matter of fact, maybe we'll make it a whole show topic. I don't know, and this would be an interesting discussion for Steven and maybe yourself. I don't know if the return on investment is ever going to be there on, you know, when you hit a triple puzzle, even if you get $10,000 for the snake, if it takes you 4 years to work on it, you know, it's a little bit tough. So I wrestle with this a lot of how do I stay in business and how do I stay excited? Because I think that there is a business model that is not as exciting. And then there's all sorts of ethical questions as well. But I think that there's a business model of produce 300 really cool single and double codom visual recessives, pair visual to visual so you never miss, and go rip it up at shows and live on the road, you know, do a carnival lifestyle. And you could do that. And that's probably not as appetizing to some people. It's kind of neat to me. But then there's like that pendulum or the spectrum. Well, what if I move that from 100% to 50-50? That stuff funds going after the cool stuff. And that's really where I've landed. And what I have decided is that probably to stay in business, I'm going to have to do volume, because we know that the price of the industry is forever declining. Like, as cool as whatever we create once is right now and high price, when we talk about a soft market, I've come to decide that it's the expectations that have to change, not the market. People are still paying $300 to $500 for snakes, which is a lot. You could buy puppies for less than that. You could buy a hell of a lot of pets for less than that. So $300 to $500 is probably going to be the average range for a long time. So then I have to back into the equation. Well, how many snakes do I have to sell at $300 to $500 to make it? And I know the argument, just make more expensive snakes. I don't know how big the buyer pool is. Did you watch that show the other night where I had RGI and Charlie on Gray Rider?
I have not yet, but it's definitely on the list.
So that's okay. I'm not hurt or offended. There's a lot of content out there. I asked a question though on there, and I said, can you guys quantify how many customers you have? Not how many orders you've done, how many shed tests you've done, how many breeders are actually getting shed tests? And I don't know if that answer is 800, 5,000, 20,000. Because the reality for me, I think, is whatever that number is probably the buyer pool. What, for double recessives and better? So I think we have to look beyond that pool. I think it's a limited pool. Now, I hope I'm pleasantly totally wrong. I hope Sean messages me one day and goes, Adam, there's 30,000 unique customers. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's gonna make my life better. So yeah, Phil says the pond is not a sea. So I think that for this to work and for the market talk, and whether it's a crash or a boom or blah blah blah, whatever it is, I think that the expectation for myself I've landed at has to be volume at, again, 300 to 500, and if I can make amazing snakes and cater to that smaller pool of those higher end breeders, great. And so to circle all the way back to your question, yes, I want to make unique snakes that are, I want to blaze trails. I want to be known for something. I finally landed. I say finally, it took me a couple of years, but Super Gravels blew my mind. That animal I showed you earlier in Super Gravel or Super Gravel Clown, nobody's going to be doing that. Nobody's got that. Nobody's going to have that when I get there. I know that, I think. So yes, that excites me. How I keep the lights on and how I keep going, I'm lucky. I still think an ODYB pied is one of the best looking animals that's ever graced this earth. Mm-hmm. So I'm still excited about it, and that still gets me going. And I know it gets my customers going because you got to make amazing stuff. And Jen jokes because this is a inside Proper Cup of Joe joke. But yeah, the future might be brightening allelic combinations. At the end of the day, we got to sell good looking animals. So there's my thoughts. I don't know if it's correct, but that's my, evolving at the moment, my opinion. Did I complicate things enough?
Yeah, you broadened the subject, but yeah, I appreciate the insight.
Steven says, if you make 10 bells and the price goes from 3,000 to 300 to 200, you lose $1,000. If you make 100 bells, you lose 10K. I would say you only lose the money that if you never had the money in the first place and your expectation was, the reality is that that the price is going to drop, whether we want it to or not. It's going to go down. And if I already have the animals to make it, I don't know that I'm losing it. This is me, and this is 3 years of me and Steven arguing here. This is great. This is what we do. This is entertainment and fun for us. It legitimately is. So the conversation will continue. Mark, I know you have a long day ahead of you. I have a rat day ahead of me. I'm going to try and get my rat shed top to bottom done before noon today, and then get on with my regular stuff too. I can't say thanks enough for being here. I cannot imagine that you've wrapped up, you've checked off a box on your day at 5:30 local time. Kudos to you, man, for doing this.
Yeah, anytime, Adam. We've been together since the beginning, and we'll continue going forward in the future.
It sincerely is always a joy to have you on. I appreciate you. I appreciate who you are, both as a person, colleague, and friend. And I'm proud to say that. And if you had said when we first met 3 years ago, we'd be hanging out at 5:30 in the morning your time, I think we both would have laughed. But I would have been surprised at where we both still are and what we're still doing. So cheers. Thank you very, very much, Mark. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Audience, if you're not following Mark, you should be at 403 Fauna on all the channels. Instagram, you got to spell it out. But if you search it, the numbers, it'll pop up too. YouTube, it's the numbers. And conveniently for you, right down below in the description is Mark's information. So give that a click. Check him out. He is this good of a guy all the time. So Mark, thanks again. We are going to get out of here. All right. Have a wonderful day today, man.
You too. See you, chat.
Thank you very, very much. Cheers, everybody. Bye.